Good morning. Today we have gathered here together for an erudite lecture on media, truth and post-truth by Mr. Amit Sengupta, Executive Director, Hard News. Sir, we wholeheartedly welcome you to St. Joseph College of Communication. I also welcome our principal, Reverend Dr. Joseph Parakil, to this lecture. I also welcome Mr. Alvin Johnson, IQAC Director, to this program. A warm welcome to all the students and teachers who have gathered here to attend this lecture. At the outset, let's seek God's blessings with a silent prayer. I request all of you to kindly rise. Please be seated. I now invite our principal, Reverend Dr. Joseph Parakil, to speak a few words.
Good morning. So, dear Professor Amit Sengupta, my dear teachers and my dear students, hope all of you are fine, even if we are combating COVID and post-COVID complications. So, we are looking forward to a post-COVID era. So, I think it is relevant to think about post-truth era also. Many of you are familiar with the term post-truth, isn't it? Especially PG students. They have a subject called media ethics. In the second year, they will be dealing with the topic post-truth. BA students also, multimedia BA students, they have journalism subject, and we have an eminent journalist with us. So I think in simple words, post-truth, it refers to a situation in which truth is denied or neglected in favor of emotions or personal opinions. So post-truth sounds well, but it has nothing to do with the truth. That is the fact. Anyway, here we have an eminent scholar, media person, editor, Professor Amit Sengupta. He is a friend of Kerala because he has been to Kerala so many times. SP College is our sister concern, and he was in SP College for 2 days. And before that, he was in Thrissur. He has come to Kerala so many times, and he loves Kerala very much. And he was telling me in the afternoon, in the evening, he will be going for boating because he would like to explore the beauty of Kuttanad. And he will be speaking on the topic media truth and post-truth. I think being an ethical journalist or a frontline fighter against fake news and so on, Professor Sengupta will be able to enlighten us. So as I have told you, it will be a sharing session, and Elizabeth Miss will be introducing the speaker. So I am not going into the detail of the session. Anyway, it will be a fruitful session for you. Of course, it will be an enriching session for you. Wish you all the best. Have a nice time. So in the name of all of us present here, especially on behalf of the St. Joseph College management, I extend a warm welcome to Professor Amit Sengupta. I also cordially welcome all the teachers and students present here. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Father. Amit Sengupta started journalism when he was 19 and has evolved to be a writer, activist, and editor closely involved with multiple people's movement. He is the executive editor of Hard News magazine. He has worked as senior editor and journalist with Tehelka, Outlook, The Hindustan Times, Asian Age, The Pioneer, The Economic Times, and Financial Chronicle. Till recently, he has been professor at Indian Institute of Mass Communication, New Delhi. I request Mr. Amit Sengupta for the scholarly lecture on media, truth, and post-truth.
Good morning, and thank you, Father Principal, who happens to be a friend of mine, Professor Thomas of SB College. Yesterday only had very warm words for him. Thank you, Elizabeth, for organizing it. Faculty, esteemed faculty members, dear students. I would love to have more interaction with you. She wanted a more creative process where we could do some creative writing. Yesterday, we had a 1 hour, 1 day long creative writing workshop at SB College. Some students from Kottayam and other places had also come. And it was very, very imaginative and very, very beautiful. I would like to have some more interaction with you, though there's time constraint and we could not do the creative writing project with you. Maybe next time I will come, I will certainly do it because Thomas would like to invite me again for SB College and Trichur will invite me for perhaps a diploma course and Marian College will also invite me. I've given lectures at Shankaracharya University, Kaladi and in St. Thomas College and Kerala Verma College. And there'll be a series of workshops and lectures lined up in Trichur. So then I would like more interaction, doubt everything, doubt what I'm saying, and let there be more imagination. We have gone through a very tough and difficult time in the last 2 years, both in the political backdrop of the crushing of dissent and intolerance, attacks on Indian Constitution, the attack and assaults on pluralism and secularism and Indian democracy, on minorities, women, etc. Girls who are wearing hijab and schoolgirls chasing dreams with stars in their eyes are not being allowed to go to school. What can be a greater crime than to deny girls going to school? But this is happening in our country now. And this is a kind of a very distressful and depressing backdrop, both in the backdrop of the pandemic and the social isolation and the social and the oppressive atmosphere we are all witnessing right now. So now we are moving from the pandemic to the endemic. We have had deaths, dying, mourning, grief, despair, sorrow. Many of our close friends have died. And we are now moving towards pandemic. We had a phase of social isolation, of, people shut the doors of their hearts and people shut the doors of their homes. And people all moved into online shopping, online conversation, online living. People became lonely and solitary. There was a sense of despair. Fear was there everywhere. The mask itself is a very, very suffocating thing. Though it is a very important thing now, we have to wear it. But one day we will not wear the mask also. And we have gone through it with some kind of resilience and bravery. And now we are entering into a new phase. I would say that, as Father has said, this is the new phase of hope, of optimism, of moving from despair to optimism, moving from sorrow to happiness, moving from social isolation to creativity, moving from truth to post-truth to a new kind of truth, new windows of enlightenment, new doors of perception. So in this process, I would say, as Paulo Freire has written, I will be referring to certain books in between. Most of these books will be available on Google PDF. And you can take down the names of the books and the authors' names. They are very, very important books, and they teach us things which no philosophy teaches us, not Marxism, not any other philosophy. Paulo Freire was a great thinker, philosopher. He has written a book called The Pedagogy of the Oppressed. And in that book he says that students and young minds are not empty receptacles. They are not hollow pits. They are creative, they are dynamic, they are interactive, they are imaginative, they are thinking, they are critical. Therefore, when teacher is talking to the students, it is the teacher and the student have an interactive and creative relationship with creative minds. We cannot have, the teacher cannot bomb information and propaganda to you. The teacher just cannot bomb theory onto your mind, because you are also filtering and processing and questioning and doubting. Because doubting and questioning is very, very important, something which has been lost in this world, because we are bombed with what is called fake news, new normal, post-truth fake news. Propaganda has replaced reality, and doctored news and planted news has replaced reality. So today we are together with our creative minds, we will filter out this process. of propaganda and truth, misinformation and information, truth and post-truth. And enter the political unconscious, or enter the reality of the political unconscious, and the social reality of our contemporary life. Learning and unlearning. Ivan Illich, another great philosopher, social scientist, he has written a book called Deschooling Society. It is also available in Google. In Deschooling Society, he talks of learning and unlearning. Learning and unlearning means that we are constantly learning and unlearning. In fact, unlearning is more important than learning, because we carry so much of packages and baggages from our childhood, which has been ingrained and indoctrinated in our conditioned minds through language, religion, philosophy, family, institutions, books, values, ethics, day-to-day life, everyday life, so that even our fantasies and dreams are conditioned. So that's why we have to dream new dreams. We have to have a new kind of imagined fantasy, a new imagined homeland, the homeland of the mind and homeland of the world. You have to go back to nature. We have to go back to culture. We have to go back to theater, cinema, arts, literature, the aesthetic consciousness. We have to go back to poor people. We have to rediscover compassion and love. Love thy neighbor, as Jesus said. We have to find a new kind of liberation in theology, in philosophy, in theory and praxis, in politics. The relationship in politics and society and mind and journalism and media is interdisciplinary, integrated. And in this integration lies the synthesis. And I would say the synthesis of learning and unlearning from my youth in JNU, I studied in JNU, is that I'm not a Marxist, but I have learned from Marxism also. I've also learned from Jesus, from Guru Nanak, from Kabir, from Sufi, from Ramakrishna Paramahans, from Vivekananda, from Rabindranath Tagore, from Gandhi, from Ambedkar, from the Sufi traditions, from liberation theology. I've learned from Dostoevsky, Tolstoy, from Arundhati Roy, from Amitabh Ghosh, from Kafka, from Albert Camus. Constantly you're learning into multiple synthesis because you are not dogmatic. Your minds or doors of perception and windows of enlightenment are forever open. As Gandhiji said, let all the windows and doors of your life, of your room be open. Let all the currents and cultures and winds come inside your room and flood your mind with multiple rainbows and kaleidoscopic, wonder, like a childlike wonder, of amazement, of playfulness, of moving from sorrow to a great imagined beauty, of experiencing life's multiplicities offers. We take life so much for granted that we do not give value to every moment we have in life. A bird calling or a bird singing, we don't listen to the bird singing. We are so much involved in the world of the online. So today we shall move into this realm of a new imagined homeland, and together discover and rediscover a new reality of life, which is the post-pandemic, new endemic life which we are going to enter. With hope, leaving behind sorrow and distress, etc., and going into critical thinking and critical enlightenment. Learning and unlearning, a new pedagogy, a new relationship with the oppressed. Small is beautiful, as Schumacher has written. Schumacher has written a very beautiful book called Small is Beautiful. Schumacher, Schumacher. Small is beautiful. Where they look for alternative ways of living, not big gigantic industrialization, not K-rail or the Silver Line, but small trains, small little things which are familiar, which gives you a warmth, which gives you coziness, which makes you feel personal and home, not impersonal and alienated. Because we are so alienated from this whole industrial world, from the virtual world. We are passive, and the television and social media is active. We think we are active, but we are not active. We are doing likes, but those likes does not make us active. What makes us active is the creative process, the hard work of the creative process, the labor of life, the labor of love. So coming back to truth and post-truth, the truth and post-truth is a very, very old phenomenon now that they have been discovered in the recent times. Recent times it was discovered first, I think, when a lot of fake news came during the Donald Trump elections. A lot of fake news came during the Donald Trump elections, and in that election it was floated that the Pope has backed Donald Trump, which was a completely fake news, but it was too late. And Donald Trump got backed by the white supremacists and the racists. And he propagated the whole white supremacism and racist doctrine. And he won the elections in the post-Barack Obama phase, whereby there was a vote against the first black president also, who was elected in America. But before Donald Trump, the whole idea of fake news came first, where it was linked to embedded journalism. What is embedded journalism? It is when they discovered weapons of mass destruction in Saddam Hussein's Iraq, which were not existing. George Bush said that there are weapons of mass destruction, WMDs, but they were not there. Colin Powell said that they are there, but they were not there. What they were looking for is blood for oil, or oil for blood. They were looking actually for oil. The whole wars in the world are being fought for resources, mineral resources. And there they found oil. That's why they invaded Iraq. It was not because of any ethical reason or they wanted democracy out there. What they wanted was oil. That's why Halliburton and Bechtel, of whose former directors were Donald Rumsfeld and Dick Cheney, they manipulated the whole war into a social psychological war, which was telecast live along with the first Gulf War. And when we enjoyed the war from our drawing rooms as if it's a kind of a soap opera, and we got desensitized to war. War itself is a big industry. Drugs and arms are industries which are linked to several other things. Trafficking, women trafficking, child trafficking, lobbies, mercenaries, pharmaceuticals. When you destroy a nation or a city, you also rebuild the city. When you rebuild the city again, the same amount of money comes in. Destruction and construction is a big industry. So war and the arms industry are continuous industry. Even now it is going on right now in Syria and Yemen. Earlier it was going on in Iraq, and for a long time, so that it became what they call the clash of civilizations, as Samuel Huntington said, moved into interfaith clashes where the Shias and the Sunnis started fighting with each other. And Iraq was submerged into a civil war where thousands of people died, as so much so as the same thing in Syria, where thousands of people have died. The Yazidi women have been raped and turned into sex slaves. Millions were turned into refugees. And even now they are refugees, where Angela Merkel gave them shelter in Germany. So embedded journalism was, therefore, journalism which the establishment was telling you, the White House was telling you, under George Bush. You could not do your independent reporting. You could not go out and say that this is what is happening, except for the National Public Radio in America and Amy Goodman's Democracy Now! And that blogger, young boy or girl, who wrote that, who would do a blog called Baghdad Burning from the center of Baghdad and give you information from the center which the world was reading. Otherwise, we were not able. It was like, suppose I'm going in an army truck, and another truck is coming with 24 women and children, and that gets blown off by the Americans. I cannot write about it. I cannot write if the museum in Baghdad has been looted for the first time. I cannot write that there were no weapons of mass destruction. I cannot write that there were no aircrafts. Where did the aircrafts go? I cannot write that women are raped. I cannot write the reality which is as a war correspondent. You know, so this is exactly what embedded journalism was, essentially what is called fake news. Even Guantanamo Bay was a fake news because we did not know what is happening in Guantanamo Bay. The 24 hours torture, we did not know even if they were Taliban terrorists or they were not. Many of them turned out not to be terrorists. So this whole process of post-truth started as a war propaganda and entered our televisions and our social media and became part of our drawing room life, where we internalized this as truth and reality, which Noam Chomsky would call as manufactured consent. He has written a book called Manufactured Consent with Edward S. Herman. You can also get it in Google PDF. In the introduction of the Noam Chomsky's book is, you will see, there is a concept called propaganda theory or filter theory. In propaganda theory, he says that corporations and cartels, along with the nexus with the government, control information. And they give only the information which they want. And journalists become mediators of that information, pimps of those information, stooges of that information, consciously or unconsciously. This self-censorship becomes the norm. Out of many multiple reasons, towing the line of the establishment, fear, money, salaries, job protection, etc. And then the journalist starts giving only such kind of information which the corporations want. If you don't do that, then you face the flak. This is what had happened in the oligopolies and in the oligarchies of banana republics and military dictatorships backed by the US in Latin America. This is what happened when Nelson Mandela was in prison for almost 29 years, along with several others. And you know one of the great fighters of apartheid, Father Desmond Tutu, died recently. One of the great symbols of peace, anti-apartheid, anti-war symbol of the world. Even in South Africa, apartheid was backed by the American establishment. And this is the kind of a propaganda or filter theory whereby news is filtered through censorship of various kinds. And what we get is actually not news. What we get, it happened in apartheid era, it happened in the Vietnam War. You keep hearing the word termites. Our Union Home Minister has been talking of termites during the anti-CAA agitation. And in Assam, he was referring to basically Bangladeshis who have come into India. Most of them are citizens, legitimate citizens with legitimate papers, but still he's calling them termites. Termites are the term which actually came through the Holocaust. The Nazis used it against the Jews. These people are pests. They're like insects, rats, cockroaches. You can get rid of them, eliminate them, does not matter. They are a curse on civilization. They don't deserve to live. So that's why you put them in the gas chambers and gas them to death. Children, women, they're like termites. Similarly, in Vietnam War, the American media called the Vietnamese people termites. They are dirty, they are savages. They don't have bath. They have lice in the hair. They're like insects, rats, cockroaches, pests. They eliminate them, So this is a kind of a continuous hyperbole, continuous hallucinatory hyperbole on which the entire structure and system of news and information is, is disseminated both as propaganda, as truth and post-truth. In contemporary times in India, we have seen not only fudging of data during the pandemic. There's been huge fudging of data. We still do not know how many people died during the Delta wave. We did not have, Kerala was reporting, Kerala did very well in the first phase, but that was because Kerala was reporting so many cases because there was testing going on and Kerala was giving data at that time. Other states were not giving data. UP and others to Bihar, though they were not giving data at all. Nobody knew what's happening in UP. Till Dainik Bhaskar, a big Hindi newspaper, sent 24 reporters to various places along the river, sacred river, Ganga, which is a very dirty river, has been made into a filthy, dirty river, a Ganda Nala, where they found that thousands of dead bodies are floating in the river. And on the shores of the river, you had dead bodies buried with tattered cloths as flags, which were the tributes given to them. Nobody knew their identities. The dead bodies were moving into Bengal. Mamta was crying, the dead bodies are coming into Farakka, etc. And what happened when such a news came in? Dainik Bhaskar was raided. Tax raids were happened to the Dainik Bhaskar. They were valiant. They stood their ground. And they put a front page editorial that we stand by our story and we will keep doing the story. By the time the story had circulated all over the country. But the mainline media is not reporting it. You see the way the pandemic they have reported. And what happened, the consequence was that Mr. Yogi Adityanath did a huge multi-crore ad campaign whereby he said he's the best chief minister and that he was the best chief minister during COVID. And what happened was that some of the magazines were given to big ads, many pages of ads, and some international magazine, one magazine was also given ads, and those ads were translated as reality. They started claiming those ads as reality. This is what called paid news, fake news, paid news. The advertorial becomes news, real news. Whereas they should write on top that this is an advertorial. You see, you should be very, very careful when you read newspaper. You should distinguish between what is an ad, what is an advertorial, and what is news. Advertorial is nothing else but paid news. And that's what happened during the pandemic. Let me get through the Noam Chomsky theory and apply it to 2014 elections in India. The whole media, like India Shining earlier, campaigned, almost the entire media, especially the mainstream Delhi media, campaigned saying that Modi is the prophet of development, of foreign policy, of international icon. He has done wonders for Gujarat. He has done vibrant Gujarat. He will create great jobs, mass employment. Women will be safe. There'll be skill India, digital India, Achhe Din. And there's a prophet and a Messiah who has come, who will save the country after 70 years of misrule of the Congress. Nothing happened during the Congress time. Nothing was done by Nehru and Indira Gandhi. And now you can see very well that all the institutions, public sector institutions are being sold off for peanuts. Trivandrum Airport has been given to Adani's, to the best of my knowledge, along with around 7 or 8 other airports. Though Kerala government wanted it, several railway stations have been given away. Air India has been given to Tatas. And, public sector undertaking, lakhs of rupees of subsidy has been given to corporates. And that's how they created this whole mythology, which is part of the propaganda theory, that Achhe Din aane wale hain, and here comes the prophet. And you know what has happened in the last many years. Digital India, Skill India, all that India, Beti Padhao. You can see what is happening, what happened in Hathras, or what is happening to hijab. Well, you are saying Beti Padhao, but you're not letting schoolgirls go to school. I mean, if you can't wear hijab, then you can't even wear a cross to school. You can't wear a turban if you're a Sikh. You can't wear dupatta if you're a Hindu woman. You can't wear a sacred thread if you're a Brahmin. You can't have your head shaved off if somebody has died in your house. You can't wear a tilak in your head. You can't wear a Rakhi on Rakhi day, or Rakhi tied lovingly by your sister to a brother. What about parent-teacher meeting? Can parents come with skull cap or turbans or dupattas or burqa? Can a father wear a tilak and come? What is this dress code you are imposing on students? Because according to the Indian Constitution, we can wear whatever we feel like. Schools have certain uniform. You can impose uniforms. But you cannot have dress codes like that. The French idea of secularism is a completely different idea. In 1905 it started. It has got inheritance from the progressive values of the French Revolution of 1769. 1789. 1789. Fraternity, liberty, equality. Voltaire, Rousseau, etc. And the secularism of France is that in public institutions and public spaces, in public institutions, you cannot, education institutions including, you cannot wear religious symbols. Nobody can wear. Public spaces you can wear, but in education institutions and public institutions you cannot wear. Otherwise, you are free to express yourself in whatever way, man. State will not interfere in the private affairs of religion. Same is the concept in India, Indian democracy. The state will not interfere in the private affairs of religion. So why is the state becoming partisan in terms of one religion. The Prime Minister does puja publicly. Recently he was wearing some strange dress. He goes to Kedarnath. Well, as a private person, he can go. But as a Prime Minister, he should not be able to go there. And he should go as a private person. But making this kind of Hindutva or Hinduism as an electoral symbol or the symbol of the state does not go with the secular pluralist Indian constitution as defined by the values and ethics of the Indian freedom struggle. So then you can see very well what happened in India during the last few years, post 2014, that large section of the media, mainstream media, toes only one line, right? You have Riya Chakravarti being hounded. You know about the case of Riya Chakravarti. Sushant actor committed suicide and then Riya Chakravarti, his girlfriend, was hounded. No evidence was found against her. Aryan Khan, why Aryan Khan was hounded? Aryan Khan was hounded day by day in the media without any evidence. Nothing was found on him because his father is a superstar, his father is a Muslim. And his father is a secular Muslim, is married to a Hindu. And because they found a huge number of worth of millions of cocaine in a port in Gujarat, belonging to an industrialist. And the media is not reporting about that. Media is reporting about Aryan Khan, day and night, and already he has been declared a criminal. This whole process of declaring criminals, like Saddam Hussein was declared a criminal, like Jesus was declared a criminal, without evidence, just because you want to control the propaganda in a certain manner, a discourse and the dominant narrative in a certain manner. So this is the dominant narrative, which is the truth, post-truth dominant narrative. Fake news becoming real news. Propaganda theory becoming information. Deepika Padukone hounded day after day because she went to JNU in solidarity with students who were beaten up in front of the police by AVP goons. Aishi Ghosh, her head was full of blood, you must have seen her face. Nobody has been arrested or punished for that. But JNU is punished. All the students, scholars, brilliant scholars, most of them young Muslim scholars from Aligarh Muslim University, Jamia, JNU are in jail. I know Umar Khalid very well. He's done his PhD from JNU, extraordinary historian. Why are they in jail? Because they protested against the CAA, which was a polarizing, anti-constitutional law which was being enacted in India. These are the new Muslim intellectuals who are young, modern, progressive, radical. They are not Islamic fundamentalists. But when they went after Umar Khalid and said he is Jaish-e-Mohammed terrorist, his little sister said, Jaish-e-Mohammed, a man who does not believe in Muhammad, how can he be in Jaish-e-Mohammed? Because he believes in Bhagat Singh and Ambedkar and Marx and Gandhi and the Indian freedom movement and the Indian constitution. So those who are believing in the Indian values of Indian freedom movement, those who believe in women's emancipation and Dalit emancipation and Adivasi emancipation, those who believe in the rights of women and Dalits and minorities in India, they are all being put into jail. It's a message to society that if you're Muslim and you're young, you're enlightened, and you're modern and you're progressive and you're rethinking the India into a different paradigm, and you're dreaming of a different dream for India, then you have no business to do that. That's why schoolgirls are being hounded, because schoolgirls cannot get enlightened. If they get enlightened, they will be hounded out. That's why the Sulli deals and bully deals came in, where young Muslim professional women, many of them my friends, journalists, commercial pilots, professionals, they are being auctioned. Their bodies and souls are being auctioned online. And not a word of condemnation comes from the government. Only when a hue and cry was raised in the second time, the Sulli deals, where these 4 people were arrested. And you know those 4 people who have been arrested? 4 or 5 people, all young people, techies, educated young people from various small towns, and they all belong to an organization which is like a secret organization online called TRADS, traditionalists. They believe in Manusmriti. They believe that women need to be treated like cattle, or women can be sex objects, especially Muslim women or Dalit women or minorities. They hate Dalits, Christians, Sikhs, minorities, Muslim women. They make genocidal humor dark genocidal humor. If you don't do genocidal humor, you cannot be part of that group. Huh? This Manusmriti you must be knowing is that kind of that those the lower castes and the Dalits, if they recite the Vedas, their tongue will be cut. If they hear the Vedas, their hot oil will be poured in the ear. It's a sexist, racist, xenophobic, patriarchal, communal, casteist, supremacist doctrine. And this is what the trads believe. They don't even, many of them are so extremist that they think Modi is very soft and moderate. They attack the BJP also because they become so extreme. They're like Ku Klux Klan of America. Absolute extremist, white, racist supremacists who believe in slavery. Ku Klux Klan, they believe in slavery. A lot of Trump supporters still want slavery back. Black people should all become slaves. That's why they planted stories about JNU and, demonized JNU, the demonized Jamia, the demonized Aligarh Muslim University, the demonized FTII, the demonized Jadavpur University in Bengal. Wherever there was dissent and wherever there is enlightenment, they want to trap it, condemn it, exile it, alienate it, crush it. They're against modernity and progressive logic and enlightenment. They just want us to keep thinking about Sulli deals, about hijab. Hijab is being played out now because of UP elections, where they are on a sticky wicket, as they are in Punjab and Uttarakhand. They lost Bengal very badly because of this only. They created this hyperbole in Bengal. But Bengal people don't worship Jai, they are not kicked by Jai Shri Ram. Bengal people are worshippers of Shakti worshippers. They worship Durga and Kali. And they're secular, deeply secular. They don't believe in hate politics, especially women. They worship Kali and Durga, and they also worship Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Bhakti, Ramakrishna Paramhans. Ramakrishna Paramhans worshipped Kali, Durga, Kali, read the Quran, internalized Mother Mary and Jesus, did Advaita. Multiplicities of secularism. Same as Vivekananda. Vivekananda said you can discover God in a football field. Right? This kaleidoscope of the unity and diversity of India, which is like of multiple cultures, multiple food habits, multiple dress codes, multiple dialects, multiple cultures, various communities, inter-communities, so much diversity in terms of geography, history, inherited history, civilization. They don't want that unity and diversity. They want homogeneity, monolithicity, one-dimensional societies. And that's why this one-dimensional Hindutva is posited as post-truth in the contemporary India, and where Constitution of India inherited values of the freedom movement on enlightenment is not liked and not allowed. That's why attacks on educational institutions and enlightenment. That's why the media has been completely subjugated. So in this context, I would say that that we, as John Berger wrote in this book called Ways of Seeing, there's a book called Ways of Seeing, which is a BBC series. It's a film also, 3-part film by John Berger. Extraordinarily beautiful, where he says that, looks at the gaze. For instance, a woman is lying on a bed. A man is standing, he's the landlord. He's the master of all his surveys, and he's pointing towards the vast expanse of land with his finger, and the woman is looking into that vast expanse. And then he controls the gaze of the woman. The woman has allowed him to control the gaze of the woman. He owns that land and he owns the woman. He owns the woman's body and the mind. He owns the woman's gaze. His gaze is the supreme gaze. His gaze goes beyond history, enters the past and the future, and encompasses time and space. This is the gaze of the feudal landlord. This is the gaze of male power, male chauvinism. This is the gaze of the dominant narrative. This is where John Berger keeps saying in the film and the book, The Ways of Seeing, is that not only is the man objectifying the woman herself is objectifying herself. It's like slavery reproducing itself. The slave reproduces its own slavery. It's like what E.P. Thompson has written in the making of the English working class in the introduction, where he says class in itself and class for itself. Class in itself means that you don't have consciousness of your alienation, of your oppression, of your poverty, that the labor you are doing is alienated labor, the product you are creating of the labor is alienated labor. But when you are aware of it, and you are fully aware of your historical position, then it is a movement of the dialectic, the unity of the opposites, the contradiction, the historical social contradiction, which is the class contradiction. In that class contradiction, you are able to understand your own role in society and your own role in history. That is when you become a class for itself. From class in itself, with no consciousness, to class for itself of entire consciousness of your being, of a historical being, of an exploited being. This is what women have become through women's empowerment. This is what Black Lives Matter is empowering itself. This is what liberation theology empowered itself. This is what Jesus Christ was doing at the time. That like the needle, like the camel cannot enter the eye of the needle, the rich man cannot enter the gates of heaven. And this is what women's movement is saying, because women's movement is also, like a girl yesterday wrote in the creative writing workshop, that both gender justice is both justice for men and women and empowerment, equal journey of empowerment of men and women. That patriarchy can be translated by both men and women. Both can be agents of patriarchy. And that's what Marx says, that it is not your consciousness which determines your being, but your being which determines your consciousness. That's where he took the Hegelian dialectic, but Hegel is looking at Geist as a metaphysical eternity of utopia. He takes that Geist and translates it, the dialectic, and takes the rational kernel out of it, and says the dialectic is in the class struggle, in social transformation and social emancipation, in the class struggle of society, in the collapse of the old and the beginning of the new. There's the collapse of the pandemic and the beginning of a new life for us, as we are saying now. New doors of perception opens. That's how we discover a new world and create a new world, a better world, a world of humanism and compassion, gender justice, Dalit rights, minority rights. That's what Umar Khalid is dreaming. And that's what the media is stopping, the dream. That's why the media and truth and post-truth comes in. I hope you are able to understand the complexity which I'm trying to tell in a very simple and lucid manner to you all. Are you able to understand? You can understand the complexity of that, but it's a very, very simple to understand. So that is why I'm saying that the gaze has to be shifted for both women and men. Men should shift the gaze and not objectify women, and women should not allow men to allow them to be objectified, because they are not. Women can go to space. They can play cricket. They can drive trucks. They can drive trains. They can dream. They can write. They can be painters, poets, actresses, filmmakers. They can become whatever they want. They can become better than men. And like when you don't give chance to Dalits or poor people, when you give them a chance, they prove themselves. Because society has denied them that chance. Same with women. When you give them the chance, they prove themselves. And they fly on the wings of desire and freedom and liberation, and they fly on the wings of knowledge. And knowledge becomes liberation. Knowledge becomes liberation. Unless knowledge does not become liberation, there's no point in having knowledge. Then knowledge is the Cartesian, instrumentalist, structuralist proposition. Knowledge should liberate you. Knowledge should liberate society. Knowledge should liberate the idea of truth itself, because there's nothing like truth. Truth is all inside us, and truth is in the collective. Truth is doing good things. Truth is writing and making the art of writing into an aesthetic event. And that's why the whole process of digitalization has turned us into instant gratification and instant likes, and everything is in transient. Even the social media is more transient and transitory than even the television. And in television, we are all sitting as passive audience, and we think we are active, but actually we are not active, we are passive. So same in social media. You put a photo of a selfie, thousands of people will like it. If you put your own ice cream, thousands of people will like it. But you put a short video, or you put a short clip from Pather Pachali, or that Satyajit Ray film where a train is going, or if you write about Tarkovsky, or if you write about Bertolt Brecht, or if you produce put a good article there, people will not read it. Good pictures you put, people will not read it. But people watch only vicarious things where they can quickly go. Attention span becomes so limited. Pointers, everything is in pointers, like WhatsApp messages. RIP, LOL, TC. TC is take care, LOL, laugh it out. RIP is rest in peace. People don't mourn for deaths. People say RIP on Facebook. Game is over. Get well soon. Game is over. Happy birthday, you meet the same person outside and you say happy birthday, and you meet the same person also, you don't recognize that person. Thousands of people will say happy birthday, and then they will say, oh, I'm so overwhelmed by the wishes. Nobody has make a phone call. Earlier when people would die, all neighbors would come, relatives would come. 13 days, others will cook food for you. People would sit there in their house, give you healing and solidarity. Someone is in hospital, people will go and stand outside the intensive care unit. Right? Birthdays were real celebration, not because of pandemic, but by and large, this online thing has come as heaven sent for capitalism, because everything has become online, everything has become alienated, everything has become virtual, everything has become impersonal, everything has become functional, instrumentalist, cartesian. Even food is online. And food is online where people cook food and exotic food and they put it on social media. Well, they are not sharing the food, why the hell are you putting it there? Either you cook the food, invite 10 people to your house and feed the poor. But you're putting your own food and you're sharing, you think that it's a very great thing you're doing, but what is happening? Nobody else is, in fact, you're making me jealous that you're putting that kind of food. And what is the purpose, the point of, you eat that food, enjoy yourself. So the shifting of the gaze. Now, to discover the real truth, we have to shift the gaze. And that is the end of the pandemic and perhaps the end of fascism in the days to come. Then a new world will open. New desires, new freedoms, new knowledge systems, new classroom culture will come. You will look at knowledge differently because you have done online and it was very stressful, both teachers and students. You see each other's faces and you get strength and joy and beauty through friendship and solidarity. Teachers feel good to see the students. I feel very good after such a long time. After the Bengali election, first time I'm communicating with people. And young students are full of energy and hope and playfulness. And they give you they don't carry baggages. They don't carry baggages of xenophobia, patriarchy, racism, sexism, casteism, communalism, gender inequality. They don't carry. They're very natural, they're organic. They're spontaneous, they're eclectic. They're ready to learn. Their hearts are open, clear. Because this is the phase of the innocence of the youth. The innocence of qualities, human qualities. And that is where I think you have to rediscover the idea of truth. Because an idea, as Nietzsche said, can make you ill. Friedrich Nietzsche said, an idea can make you ill. He also said that if you look for very long at the abyss will look at you. So don't look at very long at the abyss, because we have been looking for 2 years at the abyss. And this political backdrop is the abyss where we are looking at. Fake news is the abyss. Doctored news is the abyss. Propaganda news is the abyss. Hate politics is the abyss. Mob lynching is the abyss. Anti-beef eating propaganda is the abyss. Romeo squads is the abyss. Love jihad is the abyss. Blocking interfaith marriages is epic. Muslim women cannot marry Hindu men and Christian men cannot marry Muslim women, Hindu women, Dalits cannot marry upper caste. This is all the abyss. Don't gaze at the abyss anymore, because we have had that gaze. Don't look at the mobile for too long. Read a book. See a good movie. Read a good article. Read a good book. See a good cinema. I'm just finishing. See good cinema. See good literature. Connect with people. Have compassion. Liberate yourself. Shift your gaze. Make knowledge an art of humanism, compassion, and liberation. Thank you. Yeah, you wanted to say something.
It's been happening in India, and also last week, Noam Chomsky also came up with a similar statement like, in India, the extreme form of nationalism is on, and it is very real. So, we are talking about truth and post-truth and fake news. And you told about shifting the gaze, but the history is also being rewritten, and everything is changing. Like what we have learned and what we have known. And there is going to be more fake news in the coming years. Like it feels like every day is like election day, like for past 4 years or something. So what can we do? Like shifting, I don't think, my personal opinion, I don't think shifting gaze is an option. Like what should we do? Like the fake news is going to keep on coming. And I also wonder about a journalist, Rana Ayub. She is facing so many troubles by the government. And there is other news about her also being propagated by the Republic TV and other body media. So what should we do? How can we know the truth when a news is?
As intelligent, critical minds doubt everything. Doubt everything. There's nothing like absolute truth. There's nothing like absolute truth. Stand with essential values. Values of media ethics, integrity, honesty. As I told, values where you don't propagate racism or sexism or patriarchy or communalism. Stand with knowledge, evidence, proof. Even your opinion should not be inflammatory or defamatory. You can make strong opinion, but that strong opinion cannot be inflammatory or defamatory or racist, etc., or sexist. News has to be completely factual, topical, should have credibility, accountability, proximity. News. But opinion, what are facts are sacred, opinion is free, as the Guardian says. Facts are sacred, but opinion is free. But in that opinion also we have to have caution, rationality, balance, respect for the reader. I cannot say that let us bomb Karachi. I cannot say that. I cannot say that let us bomb Karachi. Because there are human beings living in Karachi. Right? I cannot say that this guy is a fixer. Because I cannot say it. Even if with evidence I have to double check, fact check. There's a thing called double checking, fact checking in media. Which we don't have anymore. We don't, except for Hindu has an ombudsman, we don't even have a editor who looks at the errors which the media is doing. So media has no apology. There is no question of corrigendums. We have to constantly do corrigendums, not as self-censorship, but as a process of filtering out, filtering our own factuality. So I think finally there are two principles. One is that you should be anti-establishment. You should face the truth, face up to power, and you should stand for public interest, human interest. If you stand for public interest and human interest, and if you're not towing the line of the establishment, if the Prime Minister really cleans up the Ganga, then I will say, yeah, he has cleaned up the Ganga. I would say that they have done a very good job for vaccination, reasonably very good job in vaccination. I would say that. But I said they failed when the Delta wave happened. Oxygen was not there, and people were dying in hordes. The medical infrastructure had collapsed. That also I will say simultaneously. So you look at the totality of the dialectic, the Hegelian totality of the dialectic. It's like a rectangle with many, many corners, and you can turn the rectangle in many, many different ways. And then you decipher the truth from there. Don't shut your eyes in your mind and cut off your critical thinking and take whatever is fed to you, WhatsApp University, whatever WhatsApp is telling you. Filter out news, filter out information, check various sources, go for authenticity of news. Read newspapers or those information, don't go for propaganda. And you as mediators, as journalists and social communicators, you'll be very, very responsible and accountable to your own self. Your own credibility is very, very important. Integrity, public interest, media ethics, values, human values, these are all important which stand out for you. You will have to maybe pay a heavy price But that is a price you should be ready to pay if you stand for certain values in journalism, of independent journalism. You know? Anybody else? Yeah?
Thank you very much, sir. And I think it was very enlightening that you said, especially about the case. I found it very enlightening, especially to how women are objectified and how we are, looking through the gaze of somebody else, and we are directed as to how to look at certain things. And I think that is what we need to come on, emancipate ourselves from. And we talk about kind of social consciousness.
Tell them.
And I think it was very enlightening. And I think today we have a sort of kind of new angle to look at news, to look at what is located in social media, also in newspapers.
There's a film that George Clooney had made called Good Night and Good Luck. It's on the McCarthyism during the Cold War, where people were hounded. Charlie Chaplin, Alfred Hitchcock, Arthur Miller, several other filmmakers were hounded by the American establishment, which branded them as communists. Charlie Chaplin had to go in exile. And then he made this film, his father, based on Edward Murrow, one great broadcaster who defied the American establishment. It's called Good Night and Good Luck. It's black and white, extraordinary film. Students should screen it at the film club. Yeah.
And one thing that really is in question is about censorship. I mean, when you write board, you're always censored. You're behind bars or you're somewhere close. So how do you face that?
Thankfully, journalists have not gone beyond. Siddiqui Kappan is in jail for no rhyme or reason because he was going to report the Hathras rape. Siddiqui Kappan is in jail. And even Supreme Court, he was shackled on his cot when he was having COVID. So being treated like a cattle. Inhuman treatment, absolutely. Why? Because he's Muslim. Thankfully, we have not been put in jail, but independent journalists are having a very, very hard time during this phase. Many newspapers are shut down, and it's a very, very difficult time for independent journalists. But we are digging in. Good journalists are digging in, and they are not compromising. And we are balanced and we are rational. We believe in evidence. Like I wrote in February itself that BJP might not get more than 70 seats in Bengal. But it was based on evidence because I was reporting from the ground. I was not doing hyperbole propaganda, pro-establishment. I was not abusing them. I never abused them. I never abused Mr. Modi. Nobody. We should not. We should be respectful, dignified, elegant in our language and in our conduct and in our reporting and in our opinion pieces also.
You were saying, pointing out like poverty, inequalities, or issues like hijab, because we are seeing these inequalities nowadays. Do you think that being a journalist, you can give all information related to this, or being a journalist, you can be, do you think that you are free to record all those things? Because being a journalist, I'm facing these difficulties or inequalities from the journalists. So, what do you think that being a journalist, you can be a free person?
You see, when you're working in an organization, you are controlled by that organization. I've worked in Economic Times, Pioneer, Hindustan Times in very senior positions, Outlook. But depends on 2-3 things. One is the editor. If the editor is independent, ethical, strong, a man of integrity, then you have the freedom. As an editor myself, I would create that environment. If the editor is sold out, then you will not have the freedom. And as a journalist, I will always make compromises. Maybe out of 10 stories, 6 will not go, 4 will go. Maybe I will not be able to cover this, I will be able to cover this. Maybe I will not be able to write this, but maybe I will be able to write this. So it's like a Panchatantra or a Jatak Katha tale, It's like a Harry Potter magic realism. You make your way through multiple obstacles. And like Charlie Chaplin film. In a Charlie Chaplin film, you don't know whether to laugh or to cry. Charlie Chaplin films are not comedies. Actually, they're social and political commentary. And you do not know whether to laugh or to cry. He takes you to that threshold of both humor and dark humor. Okay. Similarly, in Panchatantra also, you face obstacles with a certain humor, intelligence. and you overcome that obstacle, you know. So I would say that it is like a hide and seek game in which, but finally your integrity, your values stand. Maybe you will not be able to work for more than 3 years, then after 3 years you have to change your job or become jobless. That risk is always there for good journalists. But if you have a good editor, then there is no problem. There's no absolute freedom in the press. There's no absolute freedom in New York Times, Guardian, nowhere, BBC, nowhere. There's no absolute freedom. Unless I own, to escape this, wherever I was there, we did good work. But with same 3 years, I had to leave Hindustan Times. 3-4 years, I had to leave Economic Times. But Pioneer, we had a very good editor, Vinod Mehta. Very, very good editor. He gave total freedom. And he did not care a damn for owners. And then we started Tehelka. I was the founder editor of Tehelka. And we started it as a cooperative. And we brought out a left-of-center paper which editorial policy believes in the Indian Constitution. And it was a purely journalist paper, independent paper. There was no owner. And we ran the paper like that. We hit 1 lakh, 2 lakh circulation. And we did stories which nobody else was doing. We did stories on gender justice, starvation death, on workers driving cycles, on hawkers, street vendors, Bhopal gas tragedy, Gujarat genocide, name it. We went to the places where starvation is going to happen, like that, you know. So let us not underestimate the intelligence of the reader, because we are giving shit to the reader, we think readers are shit. If you're giving intelligent stuff to the reader will also read it. Why do I underestimate the intelligence of the reader? Never underestimate the intelligence of the reader. Never. So even if you are doing between the lines, intelligent readers will read it. However, what common people are people like us only, my father, mother, your father, mother. They are English language is read by English language people. Regional languages are looked down upon, but regional languages are most politically sharp, intellectually sharp. Malayalam Manorama is the largest selling daily in the country. People were reading newspapers during the freedom movement. Gandhi brought out Young India and Harijan. Almost every freedom fighter brought out a newspaper, right? So it's not that Anurag Kashyap's films are not being watched. Diwakar Banerjee's films are being watched. Ritvik Ghatak was being watched. Satyajit Ray, Adur Gopalakrishnan and Arvindam and John Abraham is being watched. You create your niche audience and niche readership. Telka had his own leadership. Then I relaunched Hard News magazine, which was part of the Le Monde Diplomatique. We never had any pictures of film stars, etc. We did considered articles. Even food we wrote very in considered manner. We did good books, good cinema, good politics. We picked up topics which nobody else was picking up. And we had niche readerships, maybe not 2 lakhs, but 20,000, 30,000 people. You know, and similar people are writing for us also, professors, good journalists, painters, artists, you know. So if you create your own niche audience and your niche readership, then it is possible to do it also. I'm not Salman Khan, and I'm not making a 100 crore budget film with a shit movie. Diwakar Banerjee makes good movies and you can watch that Diwakar Banerjee. Netflix, you are seeing a new OTT, etc., whatever. You're seeing good cinema by independent filmmakers on low budget. Udham Singh, for instance. There are a bunch of young boys who were hanging out in NSD at one time, eating nothing. They had no money, 10 rupees worth they would borrow to eat. Now they're making such good cinema because they've created that space. Anurag Kashyap helped them to create. Earlier, Shyam Benegal, Govind Nihalani, Basu Chatterjee, Rishikesh Mukherjee, they created the space. Before that, Bimal Roy, Salil Chaudhary, Kafi Azmi, Sajjad Zahir, Guru Dutt, Chetan Anand, Vijay Anand, they created that scenario. Then decline happened with Amitabh Bachchan. And after post Amitabh Bachchan, decline has happened, it continues in some manner or other. Amir Khan has also tried to make some good cinema. And Shashi Kapoor made very good films, Junoon, Utsav with Girish Karnad. Aparna Sen has made very fantastic movies, 36 Chodungi Lane, Mr. and Mrs. Iyer. Continues to make good film at 75, Aparna Sen. Kerala is making some very, very good cinema, also documentary films, showing the way to the country. Filmmakers in Bengal are also looking up to Kerala because Bengal is not producing great cinema now. There is a decline, there is a tyranny of mediocrity. In this phase, it has been more expressed, manifest. But this will also end, because nothing lasts forever. Nothing. Life is ephemeral. Impermanency is the permanency. But we should open our mind and gaze, and we should be resilient and brave, and we should be ready to experiment with truth. We should go on the path not followed by everybody. Right? Basically, media is supposed to be to inform, to persuade, and to educate. Media is not a toothpaste or a cosmetic brand, which Times of India turned it into. We are not a commercial brand. They've turned it into a commercial brand, a package deal. Media is something which has got a social purpose. That's why foreign media has not been allowed to enter India. Which is also, you are allowing globalization and economic liberalization in every field, selling off everything, but you're not allowing foreign media because the corporates who control the Indian media, they have stakes. Suppose Guardian and New York Times and Washington Post and Al Jazeera setups here, then you have real capitalist competition, and then your value is tested through that competitive professionalism. Here we do not have that competitive professionalism. By this fake logic of sovereignty, and that our nationalism is in danger. We should open up the spaces. We will also get jobs. Young people will get jobs, and new openings will come up. And that is one of the reasons why we are not able to, professionally we are not able to compete, and we are dependent on the same kind of news outlets. Now, with the arrival of the social media, you can enter and you can make low-budget portals, and you can have international quality portals. So many portals have come up, Wire, Scroll, etc., which are bringing out, with small teams, very, very good information, good literature. There are so many portals on poetry, cinema, literature. Anybody can start a blog and a poetry. So there is the freedom of information has become disseminated and democratized. And that is why I think the options are now opening up into new portals, well-designed portals. And you can read Guardian. I would say that you should read guardian.co.uk every day. It's free of cost. Guardian.co.uk. No paywall. No paywall. You go and see. Guardian.co.uk is the best newspaper in the world, not controlled by corporate or political strings. Independent.co.uk, one of the best newspapers from London. You get opinion. First of all, English language will improve. You will get current affairs from all over the world, including Africa, Latin America. Independent has an Asia edition. You get news from Burma, you get news from Afghanistan, you get news from Africa, you get news from Chile, where you don't get. You get one of the finest art reviews, book reviews, cinema reviews. The Power of the Dog, you can read the review of Power of the Dog by of Jane Campion film, Benedict Cumberbatch. New books. You can have every day Guardian carries a series on climate change. You had coronavirus updates from all over the world, including Europe, East Europe, Africa, which you don't have in India. You have international news from all over the world, which you don't get here. For instance, you don't know that Boris Johnson might go, or that Brazil's right-wing president is on his last leg, or that Benjamin Netanyahu's son was also being under surveillance of Pegasus. So these are Al Jazeera, you can watch social media on YouTube, Al Jazeera updates you can watch every day. They will send you updates. You can get Reuters. Even the White House sends me notification. I can watch press conferences of Kamala Harris and Joe Biden in White House. They send me notification. So the social media is accessible to many, many other things. There is Abbas Korestami in social media. There is Sherlock Holmes in social media. There is Tarkovsky in social media. There is Satyajit Ray in social media. There is Ritvik Ghatak in social media. It is also giving you so many. There is Somerset Maugham in social media. Dostoevsky in social media. It is not only ice cream and selfies on social media. So you make your choices because those options are coming in for you. Make considered, intelligent, critical choices which are of enlightenment, which gives you joy and pleasure.
Thank you very much, sir, for that erudite and enlightening lecture. Now I call upon Mr. Alvin Johnson, our IQAC Director, to propose the vote of thanks.
So now, good morning, everyone. I hope we are all enlightened with this experience sharing and also as an enlightened talk on the situation of media in India today. And it's a naked truth that India is undergoing a drastic change not just India, even the concept of India is undergoing a drastic change these days. And I do not know whether it's good or bad. We need to wait and see, and I don't want to be judgmental on what's happening. But anyway, it's a fact that it's undergoing a change. And how the role of media in such a period of transition is really great. And media has a great role to play in such a period of transition. And definitely when I go through the media outlets, I feel that objective journalism, the concept of objective journalism is also vanishing. And subjective journalism, I feel that it's gaining more importance these days. And again, I don't want to be judgmental whether what is right and wrong. So in such a phase, it's important to have an outspoken and brave journalist, right, like Mr. Amit Sengupta, to put this in the right track. So we were really fortunate and lucky to have you here amidst us, talking to us, sharing with us your experiences of speaking the truth. And he really inspired us by presenting us various events from across the world and how it was reported and how stories were chosen and presented before the people and how news were reported, and that all those were really enriching experiences. And I was also inspired by the hope that he shared with us. Instead of presenting us a world that is gloomy, he presented us, he enriched us with a lot of hope. And that was really inspiring. And on behalf of St. Joseph's College of Communication, and especially on behalf of all those students who are present here and the members of the faculty, I wholeheartedly thank you so much for your enriching sessions. I also thank the management of St. Joseph's College of Communication, who were instrumental in organizing and bringing this seminar and bringing him over here, especially our principal, Reverend Dr. Joseph Paragil. So on behalf of all present here, I extend my heartfelt thanks to the college management, especially to our principal, Reverend Dr. Joseph Paragil. And our thanks also goes to Ms. Elizabeth, the member of our faculty who was instrumental in organizing this seminar. And in the name of all present here, a very good thanks to her as well. And my thanks goes to each and everyone who was present here and who made this a wonderful seminar by your questions, by your presence, by your thoughts. And a big thank you to each and every one of you. And thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. We now come to the conclusion of today's program. Students may go back to your classes. Thank you very much for being here this morning. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much.